Do you struggle to stay consistent with healthy eating and just want food decisions to be easy, guilt-free, and sustainable? You're in the right place. Hi, I'm Chelsea, nutritionist and fitness coach who overcame restrictive yo-yo dieting and body image insecurities using simple nutrition tools, all backed by biblical principles. And now I help women like you find that same freedom with food so you can feel confident in the look and health of your body for decades to come. I'm ready to dive in with you. So grab that cute notebook you've been hanging on to and let's go.
Hey friend, can we have a real talk moment? Consistency is the hardest part of healthy eating. And let's face it, you're not where you want to be. You're not eating healthy all of the time, and then you're beating yourself up because you went rogue. You wish you could eat healthy all the time because then you'd finally see the weight loss that you are subconsciously wanting, and you would see more energy. You're tired by 2 p.m. grabbing another coffee, and you just don't want to do that anymore. So I want you to sit down with me in a diet-free coaching session where I will strategically map out a meal plan that works for you, your lifestyle, your preferences, so you can have consistent healthy habits that you no longer deviate from. They're just part of who you are, second nature. I will give you that plan in an hour. You will walk away with your consistency plan. You will lock in health, and you'll be done giving up on yourself. All you have to do is jump over to coachrain.com/dietfree and schedule your 1-hour session with me. That's coachreign.com/dietfree. And let's do this thing. If I'm being honest, it's actually so surreal for me to be recording this episode, even though I have actually been pregnant for the entire lifespan of this podcast. I am now officially an outside the womb mother, and it is no longer insider information. Since revealing on social media that I had a baby, I have received so many questions about pregnancy, my birth story, and navigating nutrition throughout the prenatal and postnatal journey. So I decided to make a Motherhood Miniseries to give you all the details. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about my fertility journey as well as pregnancy in hopes that it may help you or someone you love. Starting with fertility. Now, I know this can be a very sensitive topic. I have numerous friends who have struggled to get pregnant or to stay pregnant. And if you are one of those people, know that my heart is with you. While we were very blessed to have conceived on the first try, it wasn't without the hand of God himself. You see, I actually debated talking about this part of my journey because it feels so vulnerable. And if I'm being honest with myself, I do carry some shame with it. But I believe it is part of the testimony God wants me to share. So here we go. My senior year of college, I started taking birth control. I was only on the pill for almost exactly 1 year when I stopped taking it cold turkey. And in hindsight, I definitely would have done more to support my hormones had I known any better. But the guy I was dating broke up with me, and every time I took the pill, I thought of him, and it made that wound hurt for so much longer, and I just wanted to be rid of him. So I really didn't think anything of it, and I just stopped taking the pill. Unfortunately, my period never came back. I tried everything to balance my hormones. I spent so much money on supplements and energy healing treatments, pretty much everything short of going back on birth control, which I now know is not an actual period, but it's just a withdrawal bleed. And I suppose I have that struggle to thank for my heavy investigation into health and wellness, which has led me to where I am today and be able to help so many other people. But in the middle of it, I was convinced that I would never be able to have children, potentially as a consequence for that sexual sin. And I beat myself up over it for a long time, and I eventually just hardened my heart thinking that the dream of motherhood was just not in the cards for me. Fast forward 6 years, I didn't have a single menstrual cycle despite every effort until the day after my now husband and I made our relationship official. That's when I got the first sign of a period back. So the fact that I not only have a perfectly healthy child, but that it only took one try to conceive and I now have a very regular menstrual cycle is nothing short of a miracle. And I thank God every day for his grace and his healing, both physically and mentally, emotionally. On top of all that, there were some things that I believe the Lord led me to do for both a healthy conception and healthy pregnancy. First of all, the years of fitness and physical training that I pursued while learning about how to care for my body in an effort to revive my cycle, key player here. As well as diligence with my nutrition, especially in the 6 months leading up to when we had planned to start trying for kids. I'm talking 0 alcohol. Like, I spent 2 weeks in Italy and did not have a drop of wine or limoncello, which is my favorite, because I wanted to make sure that my temple was as pure as possible and give my body the best possible chance at conceiving a healthy child. I also had very minimal caffeine, which is just kind of me anyway, but we're talking a coffee maybe once every 4 or 5 weeks, maybe. I also avoided seed oils as best as possible. I limited my refined sugars and really just eating the way that I've outlined both in my book, The Guide to Eating Biblically in a Modern World, and of course, all the things that I teach my clients in the sustainable way. In fact, side note here, I can't tell you how many of the women that I have coached who had struggled to get pregnant, then went through the sustainable way, and then wound up pregnant. Now, I'm not making any promises or claims, but it's been known to happen more than once. So that's a little bit about my fertility journey. Totally divine intervention. And actually, my husband kind of has his own journey with that too. Maybe I'll have him on the podcast sometime to talk about it. But God really used a dark time in my life and a stumble and a misstep on my part, and he turned it for good. Just a classic Romans 8:28 moment right there. Now, let's dive into pregnancy. The common question that I have gotten about my pregnancy is why I kept it a secret. And there are a few reasons for this. First, as Christians, we are called to be discerning about what we consume. Our food, our music, our videos, books, conversations, advice. We are constantly being discipled by something or someone. So we have to be prudent about who and what we allow to influence us. I know myself, and if I were to put into the social media ether that I was pregnant, not only would I get unsolicited advice that would linger in my headspace whether or not I wanted it to, but then my algorithms would constantly feed me everyone's, top 10 things I wish I had known before getting pregnant, or other catchy reels. And ultimately, I just needed to protect my mind. I needed to create a bubble where I could reach out to people whose values align with mine if and when I needed advice or wisdom. I really felt the Lord tell me to fast from Instagram once I got pregnant, which honestly was really scary at first, since the main method of marketing I use for nutrition coaching is Instagram. But that's also how the podcast was born, in my absence of social media. And that has been a huge blessing and has reached totally new people I never would have been able to communicate with before. The other reason we decided not to announce our pregnancy until after she was born was because this just felt like such an intimate, special season for us as a couple. It was the end of our time as just a married couple and the start of parenthood, and we really wanted to cherish it without all the noise. Plus, it felt like a little fun game between us. How much could we share and post without revealing my giant belly? And I think we're pretty successful. Now, Full transparency, while I had the textbook perfect pregnancy in terms of health, I had no complications, I had no swelling, I really had belly-only weight gain, I have to admit that pregnancy was really rough on me mentally. I was pretty ill throughout the whole journey, not just the first trimester. I mean, weeks 9 through 17, there was not a single day that I didn't throw up at least once, usually multiple times. And don't let anyone fool you. Morning sickness has nothing to do with the morning. It can happen anytime, or in my case, all day long. And then I had zero appetite, which frustrated me because I know how important it is to eat really nutrient-dense food while pregnant, and it's the literal foundation of your baby, but I just could not stomach much of anything. Here I am, the diamond meal vegetable girl, living on popsicles and cinnamon rolls. And even though I had planned to be the crossfitting pregnant chick who I've coached so many times, any amount of working out made me more nauseous and even faint. So the gym also got a hard stop. In a way, I think this was the Lord revealing some idols in my life. So much of my identity is the health girl. And in this season, I couldn't do the things that secured my identity in that. So yeah, pregnancy was a really tough pruning season for me. Another question I got a lot was about my cravings. But I actually never had any wild cravings, mostly just strong aversions. And I'm of the belief that, cravings come both during pregnancy and not, but even more strongly during pregnancy since you're growing a human. Cravings come when you are depleted in a nutrient. Your body sends signals to get something that contains that missing vitamin or mineral. And because I had been so diligent about my nutrition for so long leading up to pregnancy, I'm pretty confident that my body was well equipped with the vitamins and minerals needed to sustain both lives. Therefore, I didn't really have cravings. Conversely, aversions happen in pregnancy to protect us from eating something that could lead to food poisoning. So again, vegetable girl over here could not tolerate most veggies. Salads, which if you know me, you know that's like my favorite thing ever, they were a hard pass for me, which makes sense because raw vegetables are actually the most prone to E. coli, which can make both mom and baby wildly ill, potentially fatal. The only vegetable I really could tolerate were carrots, so I basically lived on that and used them as a spoon for peanut butter throughout all of pregnancy. I was grateful to learn, however, that baby gets the best of you. So even though I was eating popsicles and bread for a solid 2 months, I had prepared my body for pregnancy with diligent nutrition, and she was feeding from that. I was also grateful that I had built up my physical fitness and strength before getting pregnant because I had to take a full 10 months off from any kind of exercise beyond walking around my neighborhood. I will also mention, I detest anyone who tries to force feed a pregnant lady and say, "But you're eating for 2." False. I am a 130-pound human. What is growing inside of me is less than 8 pounds. I am not eating for 2. I'm eating for 1 1/16. So you really only need an extra, 300 to 600 more calories to support the energy needed to build said human, kind of depending on how much energy expenditure you have with fitness. For me, it was pretty minimal, so I really didn't need that much extra food. For context, 300 to 600 more calories is about 3 to 4 tablespoons of peanut butter. It is not an entire extra cheeseburger with fries and a milkshake and cookies and chips and you name it. So ultimately, I gained about 25 pounds by the end of my 40-week pregnancy, which includes a 7.5-pound baby, a 1.5-pound placenta, 3 pounds of amniotic fluid, 4 pounds of increased blood volume, 2 pounds of enlarged uterus, 3 pounds of enlarged breasts, I think maybe more, but it's kind of hard to measure that, which leaves about 4 pounds of fat reserves. Now, I credit that to not using pregnancy as an excuse to eat anything. Even when I could only eat popsicles and bread, I was bougie about making sure that there were no food dyes, the type of sweetener used was to my liking, organic flour, blah, 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 all that crunchy girl stuff. My poor husband spent an entire night going to 4 different grocery stores to get the right popsicles for me, okay? And all of that aided in the most perfect birth and delivery of our daughter, which I will cover in the next episode. And spoiler, birthing her was probably my favorite part of the whole pregnancy, so you don't want to miss that episode. And a reminder, head over to coachrain.com/dietfree to book your 1-hour coaching session with me to finally lock in your consistency plan that gets you the health and body you have been wanting for so long now. That's coachreign.com/dietfree. And we'll chat soon.
I pray this episode was helpful to you, my friend. If so, could you do me a massive favor and take 30 seconds to write a review? This is the best way to bless me big and help more people learn just how simple eating healthy consistently can be. And if you want more value-packed info from me, head to coachrain.com and sign up for the Weekly Harvest, my weekly emails filled with recipes, how to use food as medicine, biblical nutrition, and more. That's coachreign.com for the Weekly Harvest. Blessings until next time, sis. Toodles.